Okay, get this. What if you could build your credit score just by riding your e-bike to work? I know, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it is absolutely a real system. And it's designed to solve a really, really old problem. So let's dive in and take a look at this fascinating tool called Slingshot. You know the one I'm talking about, right? It's the ultimate financial catch-22. To get a loan or a credit card, you need a good credit history. But how do you get a credit history? Well, you need a loan or a credit card. It's this insane, frustrating loop that just traps millions of people completely outside the financial system. All right, so let's really dig into this problem. Why does this financial catch-22 even exist? And who are the people getting caught in its trap? Well, this all comes down to the challenge of what's known as credit invisibility. Now, being thin file or credit invisible, I want to be super clear about this. It doesn't mean you're bad with money at all. It just means you don't have enough of a track record for the big standard systems to even see you. You could be the most reliable person on the planet, but without that specific history, you're basically a ghost in the system. And for millions of people, this is exactly what the financial world feels like. You're capable, you're responsible, you are ready to go, but the door just seems locked. And it's locked because the system just wasn't built to recognize your potential to begin with. So what's the root of the problem? Well, the main credit system we use, FICO, is entirely backward-looking. It only analyzes your past financial behavior. So if you don't have that past, guess what? There's nothing to analyze. This puts community-focused lenders like credit unions in this impossible spot. Do they stick to their mission of helping everyone, or do they play it safe with risk, which means excluding the very people they want to help? And this is exactly the gap that Slingshot was designed to fill. We're not talking about tearing down the whole system. Nope. It's about building a brand new, totally verifiable bridge for people to finally get across and establish themselves inside of it. Okay, so here's the absolute core idea behind it. I really want you to lock in on two key phrases here. The first is proving reliability through verified routine, and the second, replacing faith-based assumptions with certainty. This is a massive shift, you guys. It's about going from just guessing about someone to knowing. And what's so important to understand is that, yeah, there's an e-bike involved, but this is not a bicycle program. The e-bike is just the tool. The real product here is a whole system. It's a system for credit unions to bring in new members from communities that have been overlooked. And maybe even more importantly, it's a system for those members to build real, actual, bankable credit.
Okay, so this is the really cool part. How in the world does a daily commute actually turn into a FICO score? Let's break it down step by step.
Honestly, it's pretty brilliant in its simplicity. So a member gets a standard Class 1 e-bike loan from their credit union. Step 2, they just use that bike for their regular commute to work. Then their activity gets verified by some really smart tech. And finally, the credit union just reports their on-time loan payments to the credit bureaus, exactly like they would for a car loan or any other loan. We're not talking about some alternative score here. This process builds a real mainstream FICO score. So, the secret sauce that makes all of this work is a patented technology called Viditem. And you can just think of it as a super smart verification system. It's not just GPS tracking. It uses a whole combination of data points to prove that the right person is on the right bike, following their regular route. What you get is this undeniable, totally auditable record of their routine and their reliability. So, now let's talk about what this actually creates. It's a completely new kind of data, one that's based on solid proof, not just, assumptions about someone's character or what they might do. I mean, look at this contrast right here. The old way, it's all based on stuff you can't really prove. Surveys, what people say about themselves, and in the end, just someone's judgment call. Slingshot just throws all that out and replaces it with verifiable facts. This person with this asset at this time. It completely shifts the game from we believe to we are certain. And hey, this isn't just some clever idea someone dreamed up. It's actually backed by decades of behavioral science. You've probably heard of famous studies like the Stanford marshmallow test, right? They proved that things like self-control and just being consistent are huge predictors of success. Well, Slingshot Plus is basically the first system to take that core scientific principle and turn it into a practical, verifiable tool for adults out in the real world.
Okay, but it's also really important to be clear about what this system is not. This is not surveillance. The member is in complete control. They opt in, they control their data. It's not creating some weird new behavior score or trying to run a personality test on you, and it's not replacing the credit union's underwriting process. All it does is empower members to prove their own reliability through actions they're already taking every day.
So as you can probably see, this whole thing isn't just a win for the member. It creates this amazing positive feedback loop that helps the financial institutions and even the community as a whole. It is a true win-win-win situation.
Think about it. For the member, this is all about dignity and empowerment. You get to prove yourself with your own actions, not by filling out paperwork and just hoping for a chance. You get a real, tangible path to building credit. And for the credit union, well, this is a total game changer. They can bring in new, loyal members for less money, and they can finally live up to their mission of financial inclusion while still being smart about risk. It's mission and margin, hand in hand.
And this image, it just perfectly captures the end game, doesn't it? It's all about creating a clear digital pathway from proven, real-world reliability straight into the mainstream financial system. It's about giving people the access and the tools they absolutely need to build a better future for themselves. But wait, there's actually another huge benefit here. The whole system naturally encourages e-bike commuting, which, it turns out, has massive upsides for everyone. In fact, research from Columbia University found that investing in things like bike lanes is one of the most cost-effective things a city can do for public health. So you've got a win for the person, a win for the credit union, and a win for the whole community's health. How cool is that? So when you really boil it all down, what Slingshot represents is this fundamental shift in thinking. It's about moving away from the blunt force of old, often wrong assumptions, and moving toward the surgical precision of verified actual behavior. It's about handing people the tool to provide undeniable proof of their own reliability. And by doing that, you take all the subjective judgment right out of the equation. And ultimately, what's the whole point? It's to create access where there was once exclusion. It's about building that bridge so the underdogs finally have a real chance to win. Which leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. For decades, our financial system has been forced to just presume who's reliable and who isn't. But what changes? What does the world look like when we finally have a way for people to prove it for themselves?